we kind of just put our money together and said, let's rent a place out for a bunch of months and see what God does. And so we had a place over on Ray Street. The first night I remember no one showed up, and then the next week 2 kids showed up, and then within weeks we were serving meals to 50 kids a night. 2 nights a week we were open, and we just kind of just ran with it, and it was very eye-opening. It was kind of like God was like, I'm going to give you a little taste of this and let you know what you need to get ready for the next time. I got saved at an early age. My parents, shared the gospel with me, and I knew what it meant to be in the church and to maybe to look like a Christian, but it wasn't like I was following after the things that God had for me. So a couple people came along, some Bible teachers in school, pastor from Berwick. They kind of made the Bible more real to me, taught it in a fresh way, and started to see that God was real. The key thing for me was I went on a missions trip my junior year. I guess I would have been 17, and that was kind of the defining moment in my life where it felt like God was real to me, and I can remember exactly where I was serving in St. Vincent, and God spoke to me the one night. I was just sitting out on the back steps at the place, and I remember just kind of watching the sunset, and it felt like God was right there. Just to me it feels like it was out loud. I don't think it was, but just heard him tell me that I needed to come back to Sunbury and start a youth center. So I was ready to yield my life to that. If you picture a 17-year-old kid, it's your dreams can go as far as you would let them, what it would look like and what things would go on. And there was talk of there being like a skate park involved, and big stage with concerts, and at one point there may have been thoughts of a tattoo parlor inside, just kind of wild dreams, like as a kid, thinking of all the different ways that people might be searching for avenues for purpose in their life, and putting those kind of things inside of a youth center and allowing people to minister that way. After I finished out my teaching degree and kind of got settled in with that, our group of youth center volunteers had been meeting for a while. We just got to the place where it was like very clear that God wanted us to look for a building. And I remember the exact night at the church, and we sat around and we're like, well, how do we start looking for a building? So we just prayed about it. We sat around, and kind of prayed, and then Mike was friends with a realtor in town here, Linford. Linford's like, hey, you have to see this place. And we looked at it and we're like, this place would be awesome, like there's just so much space. There's 2.5 floors, and it's just in a great location. 10th Street here is just a great throughway for all the kids that want to get back and forth to the high school, and the elementary school is right down here. So we're like, it's a great location. And the realtor at the time said, well, I think if you offered $30,000 cash, the bank would take it because it's, in foreclosure. And we're like, what? That sounds great, but we have no money. We hadn't been collecting money or putting any money in kind of a pot. We didn't have any surplus of money from the last youth center. So we're like, well, let's just pray about it and see what God does. And sometime over the days after that, someone called the church and was like, I want to donate the money so you guys can buy that building. And we're like, okay, is this real? And to this day, I don't even know who it is. I'm pretty sure they chose to be anonymous, which is really cool. We came to the place where we realized that God didn't want us to try and, get the money through grants or asking donations or anything like that. He wanted it to be a testimony to us and to the community that he still desires to work with his people. God's provided everything, around here, whether it's the huge ramp on the back, which probably is, close to like $10,000, and all the drywall work in here, and rewiring the whole first floor, and the donations of air hockey and ping pong tables and entertainment centers, and, the work that went into just excavating the back parking lot. Like, God put his hand on all of it, and he made it happen. It's just, we just got to play along, Like, you have a need that you can't meet. When it comes to things like that, it's like, this is beyond me, God. Like, what are you going to do? And then he just brings along the exact person to fulfill his purposes. I mean, we had a huge need out here. We needed handicap handrail on the entire ramp, which is about 70 feet long. And at the time, we had probably just enough money in our account to just buy the supplies for it. And we are ready as a leadership to just buy the supplies and bring them here to the building, and then see who God brings along to do the welding to put it all up, because it was very specific how the handrail had to be, and couldn't have any breaks in it. And actually, one of my students at school, her mom follows what's going on here, and she said, well, I want to talk to my friend who's a welder. And so I met him here on a Sunday, and he looked over the building, and we kind of told him what we were looking to do here, and he was like, I want to do this. He's like, I have all the metal, all the piping in my barn just sitting there. He's like, I want to just come here, I want to weld the whole thing and put it up for you guys at no cost. He's like, and he won't even want me to say his name, so I won't. When I come in this building and look around, like, everything's kind of a miracle. That God brought along the people and the donations and everything, and by his hand, it wasn't anything that we did. We didn't try and proposition people or make them feel sad for the people that want to minister in Sunbury or anything like that. It was just kind of his thing, When we do get open, we want to provide homework assistance to 7th through 12th grade students, and then serve a free meal like we did at the last youth center, and then have open youth center time. I feel called to minister to the kids in Sunbury through a youth center, and I was just kind of searching for a purpose, so when God kind of stepped in and said that, it was, the things that I needed to hear at the time, and been following after it ever since.